1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. This is the Emergency Management Associates broadcast coming from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. Testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3, testing, testing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Emergency Management Associates. This is Ron Tyler. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We're going to wait for a few minutes to get some more people here. Tammy Steffi is here. Kim Posible is here. Anatolian Conge Wolf is here. Juanito from El Centro is here. Ray Spur is here. We appreciate all of you being here. Demon Catman and Don Patoka, two of our mods, are here. We are very grateful for all of you that are joining us here on the Emergency Management Associates Network. Let's get started with our broadcast, okay? The first thing I want to do is I want to express my condolences to the Senator Joe Lieberman family. Senator Joe Lieberman was a 2000 vice presidential nominee to John McCain, who is running for president. Senator Lieberman today was age 82. He has died from injuries that he sustained in a fall a short time ago. Joe Lieberman was a longtime senator from Connecticut. I had met him at one point during my life. He became the first Jewish American to be nominated for a major party's ticket. He died today. He was 82 years old. The Lieberman family stated that he died due to complications from a fall. His beloved wife, Hadassah, and members of his family were with him when he passed away. Halfway through his 24-year Senate career, Lieberman was chosen as Al Gore's running mate for the 2000 presidential election. I thought it was McCain. The ticket lost one of the closest elections in American history. No Jew has ever sought such a high, lofty office. The net effect of his nomination has been to change the perception of what is possible for a Jewish candidate for a high office at any time. I knew Joe Lieberman as an honest, upright, forthright American. He later sought the Democratic nomination for president without success. Lieberman was known as a hawk when it came to foreign affairs. He became one of the legislative fathers of the Department of Homeland Security, which was established after the terrorist attacks of September 11th, 2001. His penchant for aligning himself with two Republican colleagues, John McCain of Arizona and Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, particularly when it came to American military policy in Iraq. It cost him his party's Senate nomination in 2006. He was able to win re-election as an independent candidate. McCain considered picking Lieberman as his running mate in 2008. GOP presidential ticket was persuaded otherwise by Republicans worried that it would cause a riffle in the party. What a joke. I completely trusted and liked and worked well with Joe Lieberman, John McCain said in his book, The Restless Wave. And I still believe whatever the effect it would have had in some quarters of the Republican Party, that a McCain-Lieberman ticket would have been received by most Americans as a genuine effort to pull the country together for change. Before and after 2008, Lieberman would frequently join Graham and McCain on overseas trips intent on exposing injustice and tin-horn dictators around the globe. In September 2018, describing a journey with McCain near the end of his life, Lieberman quoted McCain about their trips. He said to me, "Joey, you and Lindsey and I traveled to places that no billionaires can't go." In 2023, Lieberman emerged or reemerge as a public face of no labels. No labels. A political organization designed to give Americans a third option in elections. One designed to restore civility and to bring unity to the process. The parties are failing the American people because they're rarely willing to do anything but attack political leaders. Joseph Isidore Lieberman was born February 24th, 1942 in Stamford, Connecticut. He was the son of a liquor store owner, educated at Yale, and he worked as a summer intern for Senator Abraham Rubikofsis. Say that really fast. 3 years after completing law school at Yale in 1967, he was elected to the Connecticut State Senate. Lieberman served there for a decade and later for 6 years, 1983 to 1988, as a state's attorney general. He went after various ne'er-do-wells that tried to say they never did anything, and they didn't. Joe Lieberman went and put them all in jail. In 1988, he challenged Senator Lowell Weicker who was a liberal. Oh, I can't talk. He was a liberal Republican with a reputation as a maverick, and benefited not for the last time from his proximity to the Republican Party on some positions. He was endorsed, for instance, by William F. Buckley, the noted conservative columnist and TV host, who loathed Weicker. Lieberman won the Senate by slightly more than 10,000 votes, becoming a senator himself. My friend Joe Lieberman, dead today at age 82. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, folks, is the Baltimore Key Bridge. I want to make sure you understand what is going on. Now, since yesterday, and you noticed yesterday, I went into great detail as to what happened in Baltimore. I have labored greatly trying to bring you the absolute truth of what happened. And what I'm going to tell you now is not good. Okay? It just isn't. Okay? I hate even talking about it. What I believe happened is a little bit in contrary or contrast to what the official story is over in Baltimore. Okay? I want to make that perfectly clear today. I challenge some of the beliefs, but I am waiting to exact the information coming from the state of Baltimore and also from the National Transportation Safety Board. Folks, what you're seeing here is what is left of the Francis Scott Key Bridge after this ship, this huge container ship, rammed into it and took out one of the piers holding the bridge up. Now, before I go any further, I want to make sure that you understand where I'm coming from. This is one of the key piers. One of the key piers, okay? There are two key piers. One right there that the ship rammed into, and the other right there. Okay? These two key piers could take the ship down. All right? So while you look at this ship and what remains of the bridge, I want to give you the information that I've come up with about what happened in Baltimore at approximately 1:30 a.m. yesterday morning. Over here in Baltimore, the Baltimore Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed yesterday, and I'm going to give you the update today. The ship's black box, which was recovered today, may reveal the cause of the deadly crash. Okay? The search today is resumed for the 6 missing construction workers. who are now presumed dead following the bridge collapse yesterday morning. The water there at the time of the collision with the bridge was 50 or 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Anyone in that cold water might only have been alive 2 hours had they not been rescued. Only 2 of the construction people on the bridge were rescued alive. One of them was taken to the hospital and later released. The other gentleman was released this morning from the hospital. Okay? But the search is still ongoing for the remaining bridge workers. 2 bodies were recovered this morning. 2 bodies were recovered this morning. They were taken by the Baltimore State Medical Examiner to the medical examiner's office to find out what happened. Part of the reason of what happened. Just because the body was recovered does not mean they have the entire story. There are still 4 other men in the water today. The 2 bodies that were recovered today came from what they say was a red pickup truck. They were trying to tow the truck out of the water, but the water was so cold and entangled in the bridge abutments that they had to break into the truck to recover the bodies. They will later recover the truck. Okay? 2 bodies were found. 1 truck was recovered from the water. Another is hanging on the steel cables of the bridge. The bodies of the men lost were from Mexico, El Salvador, Nicaragua, and the Honduras. 5 vehicles have been marked that had been submerged in the water. These are possibly vehicles of construction workers that had been working on the bridge. The only private vehicle on the bridge that crossed the bridge just 30 seconds before the bridge collapsed. 30 seconds before the bridge collapsed. A search and rescue mission for the 6 missing men, all construction workers, were called off this morning. Last night it was called off at 7:30 p.m. when Coast Guard Rear Admiral Shannon Gilreath said there was no hope of recovering them alive due to the frigid water and the length of time since the accident. The governor said they were still assessing the operation at all levels of government. This morning at 6:30 a.m., the search continued, and they did recover 2 of the 6 missing construction workers. They're still assessing the operation at all levels of government. A disaster area has been declared as an emergency disaster area by the governor and President Joe Biden. The federal government will now come in and assist. I want to make sure you understand. The federal government is only coming in to assist the state of Maryland and the city of Baltimore in the investigation and recovery of the men, the bridge, and their vehicles. Okay? A federal disaster area has been declared this morning. Again, the federal government will now come in and assist the state and Baltimore with the recovery and the investigation of the accident. No one will be left behind, according to what the governor said today. I was privy to the press conference where the governor said that. No one will be left behind. He said, we will work together to complete the mission. The search and rescue operation resumed this morning, like I said, at 6:30 a.m. The search and rescue mission, which remained today, this morning, and they had divers in the water just after 6:30. The mission is now shifted to recovery mode. The mission is now shifted into recovery mode. I want to make that very clear. They do not expect to see or find any more people alive. This comes as fears over the economic and trade disruption caused by the bridge collapse yesterday. Now, this is going to mount. The cost of this collision will mount by millions of dollars. Over 4,000 dock workers were immediately affected. Approximately 140,000 people will be directly affected by what happened yesterday morning with this ship. The Francis Scott Key Bridge has long become a critical link for trucking and motor vehicles linking Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia, and New York. It was also the busiest in the United States for car shipments, handling more than 750,000 vehicles in 2023 just last year. This is according to data that we got from the Maryland Port Administration. Congresswoman Carol Miller, who sits on the trade subcommittee, said that the bridge collapse will affect trade. She said, quote, "I'm worried about the families and all of the inconvenience that will occur because the bridge is gone. It was such a good link," she said, unquote. Now, what has happened? I want to review some key points here. A recovery mission for 6 presumed dead workers ended last night at 7:30 p.m., 16 hours after the incident first started. 2 construction workers were presumed dead, have now been identified. I believe now, according to the press conference that was just held with the governor, the FBI, the mayor, and other officials, including the Coast Guard, they have identified all of the bodies. They have not recovered all of them yet. Okay? 2 construction workers presumed dead have now been positively identified, and I believe all of the bodies have now been identified. Governor Moore of Maryland said, quote, "They were fathers, they were sons, they were husbands. The operation will continue tomorrow morning. The FBI is there. The National Transportation Safety Board is also on scene. I want to make sure that you understand that." Okay? There's going to be a lot of controversy with this going on. I want to make sure that everyone understands what's going on. Now, again, I do not necessarily support everything they have said. I want to make that very clear. Okay? Putting Tears says, "I have land on the bridge to sell." No, you don't. Okay? No, you don't. I think that's almost sick saying that. Okay? I think it's in bad taste right now when we still have 4 men in the water and people that are grieving. Families there in Baltimore where those men lived, yes, they were from the Central American area and Mexico, but their families lived there in Baltimore. I do not necessarily support the government's stance right now. Okay? Anatolian K. Wolf is asking, was this an attack and warning to others? My official statement is going to be, I don't know. I don't know. Okay? That's my statement right now. I think in some cases, and in fact, no, I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just not going to say anything. I think it's 1, too early to say anything, and 2, I don't think it's proper. At this point, it's not proper. Okay? There is a black box that was recovered inside the ship. The black box has data points of what was going on the ship when it hit the bridge. Okay? I want to make that perfectly clear. The black box was recovered by the National Transportation Safety Administration. They're still conducting an investigation, and the investigation will probably be ongoing for a very long time. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go off half-cocked and say things that I can't substantiate. Okay? When I can substantiate one thing or the other, I will come forward with it. I want to make that perfectly clear as well. When I can come clean and tell you the honest truth of what's going on, I will tell you that. I have always been of that opinion. Stands. I want to make one thing perfectly clear. I am not going to lie to you. I am absolutely not going to lie to you. I'm not going to make anything up. I'm not even going to cross that line. Don Patoka says anything is possible if they don't know what they're doing. You're absolutely right about that. Now, there are 22 crew members on the ship, and they're still there. Every one of them was drug tested yesterday, immediately after the crash. Every one of the ship's crew were drug tested. So if anybody was under the influence whatsoever, that will come out. Okay? Mary Miles says, no matter the cause, people perished in this tragedy. That is the bottom line. And I'm not going to laugh. I'm not going to jeer. I'm not going to do anything to settle the memory of those people. Okay? I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to say or do anything to bring bad karma about those people that have perished. If there's something wrong, it will be uncovered. And I will be the first to come alive and tell the entire story, even if it goes from the very beginning so everybody realizes what happened. The thing that we need to do is what Sue Ellen said here in the chat to do. We need to be praying for the families of the lost souls, the families of the lost people, the lost men that fell in the water. We need to be praying for the families of those victims. We need to be praying for the people of Baltimore. The people of Baltimore. Because there are people today that are now out of work because the port of Baltimore is closed. The port of Baltimore is closed and they do not know when it will open again. Like I said a few minutes ago, the port of Baltimore was a very busy port. It handled a lot of business up and down the entire coastline, along the entire East Coast. And ultimately, the entire United States and Canada will suffer from the loss of operation of this port. That's a fact. As I stated last night, the governor and the mayor said that they wanted to rebuild the Francis Scott Key Bridge. The governor first thought it might take a year or so, but the fact of the matter is it may take up to 5 years to rebuild that bridge. Okay, so there are people that are going to be harmed by what happened yesterday morning. Okay, so I am not going to make any statement until I stand on solid ground. Okay, yes, I would love to speculate. I absolutely would love to speculate, but I'm not going to do it. I have my own opinions and they're staying with me right now. Sungazer says rumor is 4 to 5 years to fix the bridge. You're right, because half of the bridge is now in the water. Half of the Francis Scott Key Bridge is in the water. That bridge, as I stated last night, was a primary route for all hazardous materials going anywhere across that bridge. Now, with that said, even when it had to cross that bridge, all of the vehicles carrying hazardous material had to get permits before they could cross the bridge. The permitting process was long. Now there is only one other way to get from one end of the area to the other, and that is through a tunnel underneath the river there. And they're only going to let people with that hazardous materials go through that tunnel only at night, number one. They will have to be escorted through that tunnel, and no stops will be made. No stops will be made. They will have to go all the way through the tunnel and escort it out the other side before they reopen the tunnel to other traffic. So there's going to be a lot of naysaying. There's going to be a lot of difficulty with any of the product going from one end of Baltimore to the other. Okay? That's the story with Baltimore right now. Now, the National Transportation Safety Board is going to be holding a news conference in about 50 minutes. So I'm going to try to get through the information that I have for you so we can possibly tell you about what's going on with the news conference during and after the conference is over. I want to be privy to that news conference. Okay? Now, Nathan Hester, who has his own channel here on YouTube, says hazardous trucks have to get special restriction permits. That's the fact. Bella Virgo says she lives near a port in southeast England and she can see the wind turbines that run it. Okay? Bella and I are pretty good friends over the years. Okay? That's what's going on. Now, I also want to bring up other information that I have for you tonight. Okay? I first want to talk about Iceland. Okay? Now, the fissure area that I told you that opened up on March 6th, it was about 3.5 kilometers long. About 1.5 miles long. Okay? The entire area was on fire. The whole fissure was on fire. Now that area has narrowed down to 6 cinder cones or less. Now there are only 3 cinder cones still open. Out of that big, long 1.5 miles, 3.5 kilometer long fissure, there is only now, it's no joke, there are only 3 cinder cones left. Only 3 cinder cones left that have lava fountaining going on. 3 cinder cones left. With that said, folks, I want to show you that. I've got a picture of 2 of the cinder cones where lava is still putting out from that fissure. Only 2 cinder cones that are still putting out lava. Now, I don't know why this is not opening right now. Okay, I've got it. And I want to show you this. Look at this. This is quite vivid. Look at that. These huge cinder cones were made by the erupting lava from that fissure. The cinder cones have that lava erupting in fountains, throwing that lava up into the air, which makes that lava come down and form these cinder cones. Okay, just like that. There are 3 cinder cones left that are erupting. Now, I was privy to another news conference today by a scientist. Okay, he's a geologist from the United States University of Idaho. His name is Sean Wilsey. Sean put out a lot of information today. I want to share that with you. Okay? Now, it might be premature to hope that the eruption is ending, but it does appear to have see the activity is decreasing because there are only 3 cinder cones that are still erupting right now. Based on what we've seen on webcams last night, it seems that the activity in the craters has decreased a bit. Right now, only those several craters are still active. 4 total craters, we believe, remain active. Only 3 are still showing magma or lava. Okay, that is according to Professor Einar Bessi Gjestsson, a geologist at the Icelandic Met Office. Okay. This is the first time that this eruption has subsided. Okay? After the first 24 hours, it was more powerful, like we told you about and we showed you a video of. Okay? But the eruption has now become quite stable. It's very difficult to visually assess the small changes that have occurred in this eruption. But tonight, it seems to become quite clear that the activities in these craters have been reduced a little. Okay? Now, what does this mean? Is it perhaps going to be difficult to predict or forecast what happens next? Yes. It's very difficult for the scientists to predict what's going to happen next. This is often the trend when volcanoes are erupting or any of the fissures over in Iceland have erupted in the past. Slowly, these eruptions do decrease. In the past, every one of those fissure eruptions that we've seen in Iceland have decreased within a matter of days, literally 2 or 3 days. We just have to wait now and see what's going to happen here. This coming Saturday, it will be 3 weeks since the fissure erupted this time. Okay? Now, I don't think that what we're seeing today with these 3 or 4 cinder cones are really big changes. I don't think they're very big changes at all. The only change has become over a 3-week time period when the fissure went from 1.5 miles long down to more than just maybe 100 yards long, okay, or 100 meters long, okay? We just have to see if it will stay constant or consistent in this phase of eruption before we're going to be able to figure out what's going to happen next. It is slowly tapering off, okay? That is one thing that is consistent to us right now. This eruption is gradually tapering off, okay? But what happens is later going to be revealed to us because nobody really knows, okay? Now, Bella Virgo is still talking about the bridge. Let's go back to the bridge really quick. It was very unlikely that any one of those bridge pilings should have been hit by any ship. Okay? It's very unlikely that that should have happened. Long before the ship even got to the bridge, long before that ship even got to the bridge, what happened? The ship was far off course from where it should have been as it was leaving the port of Baltimore. It was far off course. Now, again, who is at the helm? The person from the Boston shipyard was at the helm. This person had years and years and years of experience. A lot of experience. It is closed. Rob is talking about the 5.7 earthquake that hit off of Port Orford, Oregon last night. Okay? We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. Let's hold on here. Please, bear with me here. Before that ship even hardly left its pier, it was already off course. It should have been going down the middle of the river. It should have been going directly down the middle of the river. The middle of the river is the deepest part of the river. It was not there. It was not there. Okay? I want to make this perfectly clear. The pilot of the ship was not directing the ship where it should have been, or it would not have happened. That's my opinion. My opinion is borne out by the evidence that I have, and the evidence which is what the National Transportation Safety Board is going to find out, or maybe they've already found it out. Okay, but they're not going to reveal their findings for quite some time. Okay, like I said, I've got my own opinions, and they're going to stay with me for right now. Okay, like I said, I do not trust the government or any government, period. I just don't. And I have good reason for that statement. But folks, just bear with me here. Bear with me. Yes, Vigorous Wolf, it could have been a distraction. You're right. It could have been. That also is speculation, and it's also remains to be seen. Okay, so stay with me here. Stay on topic. Demon Catman says the ship has a history of breakdowns. The ship was built, like I said last night, in 2015. 2016, the ship's captain drove it into the side of a pier, the quay wall, which separates land from the harbor. He drove the ship into the quay wall. Now, I'm very familiar with quay walls because we had them in San Diego. I'm very familiar with harbors. I'm very familiar with ships and Navy ships coming into the port of San Diego. Okay, I'm very familiar. And from what I have read, that ship's captain will be held responsible for what happened yesterday. And I think also the shipyard watchman will also be held responsible because he is the one with years and years and years of experience. Okay? He was appointed by the Port of Baltimore to be on that container ship when it left the pier. Okay? Now, Belleberger says the Dolly, the ship, did look like it was overloaded with containers. That's what I think about a lot of container ships. I've seen hundreds of container ships throughout my life. They all appeared to be overloaded, but I'm not in a position to say that. Okay? I am not going to speculate for several more months now. Okay? I'm just not going to do it. Vigorous Wolf says, hello, distraction meaning to give a reason for shortages. Yes, there will be shortages for at least a while now. They have to clear that river and that bridge out of the water. Then they have to look at the bottom of the river to make sure there's nothing else in the water, or they may have to dredge out that area to make sure that any ship coming in will not be affected by what this bridge collapse did. So yes, this port will be closed for quite a while now. It will be closed for quite a while. And yes, this is going to have an effect on that port for quite a while. Sheila Owen says 3 years. It probably may, I can't even say probably, but it may not be that long, but it might even be longer than that. Okay? And Bella Virgo says many rivers, including the Thames, do not get dredged that regularly. You're right. A lot of rivers and a lot of harbors, including San Diego, do not get dredged out on a regular basis. And there have been groundings happen in almost every port around the world. I'm just telling you. So folks, let's go back to Iceland, please, for right now. Let's go back to Iceland. Then we may go back to talk about Baltimore again. Yes, I know it's a major story. I have a lot of ground to cover with this, okay? So let's go back to Iceland for another few minutes. I want to get over to Cascadia and what's happened in the last 24 hours over in the Cascadia region. I want to show you what is going on at the volcanoes over in Washington and Oregon. I have a lot of information to give you. Laura Marie, my friend from Oregon, is here in the chat, and I appreciate that so much. Thank you for being here, Laura. We appreciate you. Now, Jason's asking for us to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm not going to do that right now. Vigorous Wolf, I'm not asking you to shut up. I'm not asking that at all. I want you to stay on topic with me. I've got a lot of important information that I need to get out to you. Okay? In order to do that, I want to make sure you're understanding it. And if you're off half-cocked on something else, nobody's getting the information. So please stay here with me. Okay? Yes, what happened yesterday is going to hurt economies around the world. Not just in this country, it's going to affect economies around the world. That's a fact. I've done a lot of checking about this, and we can get into that another day. Anyway, getting back to what's going on in Iceland. Again, the fissure that was over 1.5 miles long is now come down to only 4 cinder cones, 3 of which we have pictures of. Okay? That's where everything's going on. And the activity is quieting down substantially. Okay? Now, with the 3 to 4 fissures or 3 to 4 cinder cones that are still erupting, there is a heavy sulfuric gas and carbon dioxide gas that's still coming from the lava and the lava fields. Okay? There's sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide, 2 very deadly gases that are in the air. Again, they had to close the Svartsengi power plant several times in the past 2.5 weeks because of the wind change or weather changes in the area that blew those toxic gases back over to the Svartsengi power plant and the Blue Lagoon. They have not kept the Blue Lagoon open. The Blue Lagoon spa has stayed closed for the past 2.5 weeks, and it will remain closed until this lava fountaining stops. Until the lava stops, they're going to keep the Blue Lagoon closed, and when the weather permits, the winds permit, and pull the toxic gases away from the Svartsengi power plant, then they will keep the people operating the Svartsengi power plant. But they have to keep closing the Svartsengi power plant to people in order to keep them safe. One of the workers at the Blue Lagoon was overcome by sulfur dioxide. He had to be taken to the hospital and treated, and he was later released after 24 hours observations. Okay, he could have been killed as a result of sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide over near the Blue Lagoon. He was a worker there, but the Blue Lagoon has remained closed. Okay. There's been heavy toxic gas pollution, fumes coming from the lava over this past weekend in Greenvik even. In Greenvik, they had to pull the residents and the workers at the piers away from their work over in Greenvik and pull them out of Greenvik because of toxic air pollution. Okay? Greenvik is naturally much closer to this eruption than almost anywhere else. Okay? Greenvik is very close to what's been going on. Okay? It's close to the eruption. Okay? Now, Greenvik is close to the Fagrsfjall eruptions. It's been very close to the past 3 eruptions. Greenvik has been exposed to a lot of gas pollution, and it's continued with this eruption now. The first part of Wednesday this morning, they saw a light wind in the area, thus the gas did not travel far from the eruption center. But in those places that are closer to the eruption, the toxic gas pollution, the CO2 and SO2, okay, the carbon dioxide and SO2 sulfur dioxide are very deadly. Okay? You can't taste, you can't smell those gases except for the sulfur dioxide has a rotten egg smell. You can't taste it though. But when the wind changes and blows those toxic fumes into Greenvik or over to the power plant or over to the Blue Lagoon, nobody can be there. Okay? The wind will pick up later today, and then we will see what we see over around Greenvik, the power plant, or the Blue Lagoon. And the forecast assumes that the gas will reach the west and southwest from the eruption center. So it is now mainly Svartsengi power plant and Greenvik that face the possibility of gas pollution today. Okay? That's what's going on today. Any questions about Iceland? Okay? The only other thing I have to say about Iceland is this. There was a 4.0 magnitude earthquake over in central Iceland. This was at a volcano that's been very quiet for a very long time. This volcano, folks, is now active. Scientists believe this volcano is now very active since it got hit with this moderate earthquake today. Okay? This volcano has a lake at the top of it, just like Crater Lake and several other lakes that we've talked about in the Pacific Northwest. Okay? It's got a lake at the top of it over there in Iceland. If that volcano would blow, again, just like we've talked about over at Crater Lake or any of the other volcanoes that have water in them, including Clear Lake volcano in California. Okay, any of the volcanoes, if they erupted that have water at the tops of the lakes, it would be catastrophic. It would become a catastrophic eruption, meaning the cold water hitting the erupting lava, causing a huge explosion with lava, ash, and toxic gases literally all over the place. Okay? So that's what they may be looking at over in Iceland in the coming months, weeks, and months, at least. We will see what happens over there in Iceland. But I wanted to tell you about that because they got hit with a 4.0 earthquake today. It's the largest earthquake that they've had in quite some time. All right. Now, I want to go over to talk to you about what's going on in the Cascadia subduction zone. Okay, now this is important. This is very important because what we're seeing could have an effect on all of us, literally. I'm not joking. I'm not joking at all. Okay? I want to make that perfectly clear. I'm not pulling anybody's lanyard on this one. Not at all. Okay? Now, the earthquake that happened last night was a 5.7 earthquake. It was off the coast of Port Orford, Oregon. I want to show you this. It was a 5.7 earthquake off the coast of Port Orford, Oregon. This earthquake was on the east side of the Gorda Ridge. The east side of the Gorda Ridge. Now, yesterday we showed you what happened over in this Cascadia subduction zone. We told you that the Cascadia subduction zone is a huge subduction zone. It ranges from on the south side of the Cascadia subduction zone near what they call Petrolia, California in Northern California. With that said, the west side leaving the Cascadia or leaving Northern California coastline is very important. Okay. Now, I want to talk about what happened. This is very important to all of us. Okay. This could have effects on everybody. Okay, I want to make sure that you realize that. Okay, now I'm trying to pull up my earthquake USGS. There we go. I want to pull up the USGS map right here. Okay, I want to show you what we're talking about and why it's important. Right here in Northern California area. You see an earthquake right down here. This is over in the area of the Triple Junction. Okay, you see an earthquake fault, several earthquake faults, 3 earthquake faults here in this area. Okay, the one coming off the coast of Northern California there is the San Andreas Fault. From here, the San Andreas Fault goes all the way down through California, through northern Mexico, and out through the Gulf of California down to the southern coast of southern Mexico. Okay? But right here, that red line headed north here, that is the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake fault. The Cascadia subduction earthquake fault. The red line headed west here, right here in this area, that is called the Gorda Escarpment. It goes out about 280 miles off out here into the Pacific Ocean. Okay? It joins up with the Gorda Ridge here. See that red line that runs from the southwest headed northeast here up to that earthquake swarm here? Okay, that's the Gorda Ridge. So the earthquakes that happened last night happened off the west side of the Gorda Ridge, probably about 200 miles off the coast of Oregon. Okay, the 5.7 earthquake right there. Now, someone said that they felt that earthquake. Someone said they felt that earthquake. This is 200 miles off the coast of Oregon. Now, I'm not going to argue that they saw or didn't see that didn't feel that earthquake. I'm not in a position to say whether they did or they didn't. To me, it really doesn't matter. Okay? If they did, then the USGS is dead wrong about the size of this earthquake. And I'm going to show you something right now. Okay? I just clicked on the earthquake map, the earthquake information off the map. Okay? It comes up with what they call the scientist back study page, the USGS study page here. Now we go off to the left side of the study page. Okay? We scroll down here. Okay? We keep scrolling down here till you see the word origin. We click on the word origin. Okay? That gives us this information here. They're claiming it to be a 5.7 magnitude quake, 178 kilometers west-southwest of Port Orford, Oregon. That's what they're claiming. They say on this study page, they say there's two origin points, two origin products. Okay? It says here a 5.7 earthquake with magnitude uncertain. Magnitude uncertain. Okay? Hold on to that thought. Hold on to this thought that the magnitude is uncertain. There's a reason I'm telling you that. They give the location and they give it with latitude and longitude. So we can definitely come here and find out exactly where it's at. Okay? Then it shows a depth of 10 kilometers. 10 kilometers deep. 6.2 miles deep. The origin time right here. It gives us a date at 03:23 a.m. yesterday UTC. UTC. This happened in the Pacific time zone. The Pacific time zone. Yesterday about 7:30 p.m. 7:23 p.m. Pacific time. Yesterday. Now you see the number of stations, 73 stations, the number of phases, 73, meaning the sensors that told us how strong the earthquake were, 73 different stations. Okay? Minimum distance, 185.3 kilometers. Okay? That's deep. That's deep. Now we come back over here to the right side. See where it says magnitude. See where I have my hand cursor right now? I'm going to click on magnitudes now. Okay? Look over here to the left. A 5.7 earthquake. No station details available. When you see no station details available, you have to question what USGS is really telling us. You have to question what USGS is telling us. This is only the second time that I've shown you this study page. This way, you're going to be able to go back through every cut and picking earthquake that happens and find out more about it. Okay? Now, the second one here says 5.6 magnitude. Station details, 327 stations. 327 stations. We come back over here to magnitude and we see no stations reported. Meaning they're not going to give us any information. You cannot even click on 327 stations. It will not allow it. Okay? USBS seems to know that myself and other people that are keeping track of what's going on are coming over here to the Back Scientists study page to find this information, to find out exactly what the stations are telling us. They definitely do not want us to see it, which is telling me that this earthquake was substantially larger than they're even talking about. This earthquake was substantially larger than they are talking about. If they don't want us to see what's going on, guess what? We have no other logic but to tell you, and you to tell yourself, that they are not talking about what's going on. Look at all of these other orange earthquakes. Every one of these orange circles here are aftershocks of the 5.7 earthquake. Holly, knock it off. Holly? Anyway, each one of these earthquakes are separate and distinct aftershocks. Let's click on each of them and we'll show you how strong these earthquakes are. This earthquake is a 4.7 magnitude earthquake, a moderate earthquake. This is also 10 kilometers deep. Let's go out over here to the west. This is a 3.9 4.0 earthquake, also 10 kilometers deep. Let's go over to the 5.7 earthquake and the other aftershock right next to it. Okay, there's a 5.7. Let's go see this earthquake. This is a 4.4 moderate earthquake, and again, it's 10 kilometers deep, 6.2 miles deep. Then two other earthquake aftershocks here. This one is a 4.1 moderate earthquake, 10 kilometers deep. Okay. This next one, this is a 3.5 earthquake. So now we're seeing two smaller earthquakes. Two 3.0 to 3.9 small quakes. The other three were moderate earthquakes. The other three were moderate earthquakes. This aftershock happened at 23:34 yesterday evening, 11:34 p.m. This one right next to it, the 4.1. This happened at 11:49 p.m. This one right next to the main shock, a 4.4. This happened at 11:22 p.m. 11:22 p.m. The main shock happened at 11:23. So there is one foreshock, this one right next to it. Then this main shock here. This next shock to the north happened at 11:25 p.m. yesterday evening. This earthquake aftershock happened at 23:14. 23:14. We have a swarm of earthquakes here. This is a 3.9 4.0. Now, as I've said with 0.9, you can see here it says 3.9. You know what I believe when they say anything 0.9, don't you? Anything 0.9 means that USGS is lying about it. It's a larger earthquake. It could be a 4.0. It could be even larger than that. Because we know that USGS downgrades the earthquakes. Okay? Bella Virgo said, then again, was that earthquake picked up by buoys and water displacement? Guess what? I checked the National Buoy Center, and guess what? it doesn't show any displacement whatsoever. If any of you go over to the National Buoy Center and find out any different, let me know. Because late last night, it showed no buoy displacement, meaning the water moving up and down. Okay, I didn't see any of it. Now, Bella Virgo says it's midnight over there in England. I appreciate that she needs to go to bed. She probably has to go to work like most of us have to tomorrow. Thank you for being here, Bella. We really appreciate you being here. Okay, it's a pleasure to have you here on our program. Bella has been on and off with the Emergency Management Associates team for a very long time. We really appreciate that. I've spoken to her on many occasions in the past, so we really appreciate Bella. Thank you for being here, Bella. Anyway, guys, this may have been a much larger earthquake, but we'll never know because USGS is not admitting to anything. Now, this 5.7 earthquake happened late last evening, before midnight. And yet USGS is still not showing us any pertinent information. Nearly 24 hours later. Right now, it's 5 hours before this earthquake will have gone 24 hours, meaning this earthquake has been here for now 19 hours. This earthquake happened 19 hours ago, and they're still not telling us anything. Okay? That's what I talk about. That's what I talk about. Now, there's two other earthquakes further or closer to the shoreline. Now, you see where these earthquakes are. Okay? This is a 2.1 earthquake here. This is just off the coast of Port Orford as well. 40 kilometers west-northwest of Port Orford. Okay? This other quake, this is a 1.8 tremor here. Also 42 kilometers west-northwest of Port Orford. Look where it's located. It's right next to, just west of the Cascadia subduction zone. Right next to the earthquake fault. Also look further to the east, or to the west here. Over here we have the Blanco fracture zone, which connects with the Gorda Ridge here. The Blanco fracture zone. And it runs from the southeast to the northwest out here. That Blanco fracture zone runs out here to the middle, not necessarily the middle of the Pacific, but out here in the Pacific Ocean, connecting to the Juan de Fuca Fault here. The Juan de Fuca Fault. So these two really minor earthquakes just to the west of the Cascadia subduction zone region are very close to shore. Okay? Why are we talking about it? Because again, all of these earthquakes that we've talked about so far today are in the Cascadia subduction zone region. We are expecting to see a magnitude 9.0, 10.0 earthquake right up here, just off the coast of Seattle, Washington. This inlet from the Pacific Ocean is called the Strait of Juan de Fuca here, right here. This is the Strait of Juan de Fuca, okay? Right here. Folks, this is in the region of the Olympia Mountain. Olympia Mountain. It's also a volcano right here, covered in snow. Okay? They're calling this an explosion. See this? It's a diamond. Every diamond is either an explosion or a quarry blast, according to the USBS. The USBS is calling this a 1.0 tremor explosion. Let's zoom into this and let's see what the USGS has to show us here. Okay, right here. Let's zoom in to this and see what the USGS has to say for itself. They're calling this an explosion. Folks, this is right alongside a huge forested area here. Okay? There is a roadway going through here. Okay? There is a small roadway going through here. Now, this almost doesn't even look like a roadway. It looks like a stream or a river going through this area. Okay? I believe this probably used to be a volcano vent. A volcano vent. That's what it appears to be. I do not believe this was anywhere close to being an explosion. Okay? There's no way it could have been. If anybody was even here, they had to hike into this area. So this was not an explosion. It was a 1.0 tremor. This is also 1/3 of a mile deep. 1/3 of a mile deep. Let's zoom out from here. Okay? There's also a lake north of there right here. Right here. There's a small lake right there. Okay? Let's zoom out here. I want to show you the other goings on here. Right here. Look at this. Let me bring this up here so you can see it. Okay? This is a 1.8 explosion again. A 1.8 tremor explosion. In this case, United States Geological Survey is calling this a surface quake. 0.0 kilometers deep. Let's zoom in here and see what they're telling us here. Okay, let's zoom in here and see what they're showing. Okay, again, this is just on the edge of a forested area here. It's semi part of a clearing. There is no quarry here. And I have a good feeling that there is nobody here that would have started an explosion. It is a 1.8 tremor out here. A surface quake. That is entirely possible. But it's also entirely possible that USGS has no clue how deep this was. They assign depths at will. They assign depths at will. That's what they do. Okay? The nearest roadway is out here, a little bit far to the west here. You can see that. And it's far north from this other highway down here. Okay? It's in next to a forested area. So unless the USGS is calling this an explosion and they're using explosives to blow up trees, to down trees for deforestation, for lumber, this was not an explosion, guys. This was a 1.8 tremor here. Okay? That's what I believe. It's in the Puget Sound area, just like the other supposed explosion. Okay? Now we go down here a little bit to the southeast here. This is another one of those 1.9, 2.0 minor earthquakes here. This is just northeast of White Center, Washington. They're saying it's 3 kilometers northeast of White Center, Washington. That tells me it's at the city. It's in White City, Washington right here. As you can see, it is. It's not 3 kilometers northeast of all. USGS, as we have found out over the years, cannot give out directions correctly. This is White City, Washington here. This is right smack dab in a town. It looks to be that this may either be a business district or a commercial area. Okay? It looks to be a commercial area here. This is an earthquake. A 2.0 magnitude earthquake over here in White City, Washington. Plain and simple, right there. Let's zoom in on it again. Right next to or in a business district here. Okay? So this again was not an explosion, it was an earthquake, a 2.0 earthquake here in White Center, Washington. Not northeast of anything. Okay? Again, they can't get their directions right at all. To the southeast from there, also relatively close to the Puget Sound. This is Wilderness Run, again, a 1.8 tremor here. Wilderness Run had a 1.6 tremor here yesterday. Today we see a 1.8 tremor. This is 20 kilometers deep. This is 20 kilometers deep. This is 15 miles deep. Okay? Now, you see this volcano here. This is Mount Rainier. Out to the west of there. Okay? This, they say, is 0.8 microquake at Mount Rainier. I'm about to show you the real, true story of what's going on at Mount Rainier today. I'm going to show you the seismograms at Mount Rainier. So there is no mistaking what is really going on at these volcanoes. I think you're going to be a little surprised. Maybe not. If any of you been paying attention to what's going on at Mount Rainier, you might not be surprised, because we're not just going to show you microquakes or tremors like they're trying to show us here, but we're going to show you full-blown earthquakes at Mount Rainier. This earthquake just southwest from that other one, this is a 1.0 tremor here. Okay? South of there, just north of Mount Rainier, we have a 0.5 microquake here just north of Mount Rainier, and out west of Mount Rainier right here. This is Kalama, Washington. We've had many earthquakes here in Kalama, Washington during the last month. USGS is trying to tell us that this is a 0.8 microquake here, 10.4 kilometers deep, just over 6 miles deep right here. Okay? So now you see Mount Rainier here. You see Mount St. Helens right here. You see Mount Adams right here. We're not going to show you anything at Mount Adams because they don't want us to know what's going on at Mount Adams. There's no conclusive seismogram available for Mount Adams because USBS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network have altered the information. 4 years ago, we were having perfected information because they were not altering anything. Now they are. Down here, this volcano right here is Mount Hood. I'm going to show you Mount Hood today. Okay? Just so you know. Then we're going to come down here. Okay? I want to show you what's going on at Glacier Peak Volcano. So we're going to, not Glacier Peak, I'm sorry, Crater Lake Volcano over here in south central Oregon. I want to make sure you can see that. Okay? I'm also going to go up here to the north. Oops, didn't want to go that far north to Alaska. I'm going to pull you down back here. Go back up here into Washington. Up right here. Guess what? Mount Baker is right up here. We're going to show you seismograms, which are the output of seismographs at Mount Baker as well and Glacier Peak. Okay, so let's talk about that. Okay, so let's leave these maps here and let's go over to the information I have to show you. Okay, let's talk about what's going on at Glacier Peak. I think you're going to be just a little bit surprised about what's going on. And not just Glacier Peak, but Mount Baker as well. Okay? I think you'll be really surprised by what I've got to show you. Okay? Let's show you Mount Baker. This is the Mount Baker seismogram. Okay? This is what they call Shuxen, which is a ski resort on the north side of Mount Baker. Look how active this is. Okay, see all these wavy lines here? These wavy lines are what they call VLF waves. Magma coming into the volcanoes causes waves here on the seismogram. When you see these waves happening, and they seem to be violent waves like you see right here, that means there's massive amounts of magma coming into the volcano. And right here, we have the 5.7 magnitude earthquake off of Port Orford, Oregon last night. That's what you see right here. But down here, early this morning, we're seeing a lot of violent magma coming into the volcano. Look at all this. These are VLF waves, very low frequency waves caused by magma. Okay? All of this here that you're seeing from way up here all the way down through this afternoon today is a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber here at Mount Baker. Okay? I wanted to show you that, showing you what is actually going on, so you'll see from these other seismograms what they're not telling us. What they are not telling us, okay? This is Shuxen, the ski resort on the north side of Mount Baker. Let's go over here to the left. See where I'm showing you here? See this big, thick black line? That is not normal. This is what they call artifact. It's false information. Usually we would see these black lines getting thicker and getting thinner. That's not what we're seeing here. This is not real magma. Okay? It's not real magma. This is not a magma pulse signal. This is trash. Now, that earthquake happened just after 11 p.m. last night. Look here. This seismogram at Mount Baker did not record any of the earthquake at Port Orford, Oregon. Nothing. However, let's go down here to 5 a.m. this morning. Look at this. Look at all this seismic activity here. We have probably a 3.2, 3.3 earthquake right here. This earthquake right here is a 3.0, 3.3 earthquake, small earthquake. Okay? All of this activity here are tremors going up to minor earthquakes in preparation for this other larger earthquake right here. That's all that's going on here. See these other earthquakes here? These earthquake sequences here are minor earthquakes here. These are minor earthquakes as well. 2.4, 2.5 minor earthquakes, and right between them, 2.0 earthquakes. Okay? Then this earthquake here is like a 2.8, 2.9. Going further over here, and this just happens to be at 5:30 this morning. Again, we're seeing 2.3, 2.4 earthquake here, as well as other earthquakes of like and larger earthquakes here in preparation for these earthquakes right here. Multiple earthquakes here of nearly same magnitude. Okay, here we're talking about 3.0 earthquakes here. This one here and these earthquakes right here. There are multiple earthquakes here. Let me enlarge this so you can see it. There are multiple earthquakes right there. Each individual line is an earthquake. And there were multiple earthquakes of same size this morning. You can see what I'm saying. That's an awful lot of energy this morning. Okay? This one over here was at least a 3.0, 3.3, maybe even a 3.5 earthquake right there. Right there. And then over here to the right, where you see my cursor, it appears that the earthquake over here that we just saw on the left-hand side, this earthquake over here on the right-hand side is a buildup to all this seismic energy over here to the right at 5:30 this morning. So that's an awful lot of information at Mount Baker today. But they don't want us to know the full story. That's why you see this solid, larger, thick line here. That's trash. That's trash, as well as this thick blue line right here. There is no way that that can be possible. In order for that to be possible, let me zoom in here. In order for that to be possible, we must see this entire blue line getting thinner and thicker all the way down this line. Each and every line here represents a 15-minute time period. Each and every line here on the seismograph equals a 15-minute time period. You don't see magma pulse signals here. This is false data here, as well as this one here. False data. Okay? Again, that is at Mount Baker. One more seismogram at Mount Baker here. This is actually the main seismogram for Mount Baker. It's called MBW. MBW. This is the code word for this seismograph. MBW. The seismogram is a printout of the data from the seismograph. Okay, look at all this. These are all tremors here. Just minor tremors. Okay. We go all the way over to the right here. Again, it's at Mount Baker here. There is the 3.0 plus earthquake. Possibly as much as a 3.5 earthquake right there. So we see it on this seismogram as well. Look at all the data here. Okay, we see some 2.5, 2.8 earthquakes there. We see a minor earthquake here, a minor earthquake here, and other tremor activity here. Okay, that's all we're seeing. But again, they are not showing us actual data. They're fibbing. They are fibbing, guys, because everything on this seismogram right here, I'm going to go back to the VLF wave seismogram, the HHN seismogram. Look at that. With this much activity of magma coming into the magma chamber of Mount Baker, we should see a lot more earthquakes there. Because magma coming into this volcano is fracturing rock, which causes earthquakes. And they're not showing it to us. They are not showing it to us. Look at the data here at 5 a.m. this morning. Between 5 and 6 a.m. this morning. Look at this. This violent magma coming into the magma chamber. This is a lot of magma into the magma chamber, and they're just not showing the results of the magma on the other seismogram. Again, they are lying to us, lying through their teeth. Plain and simple. Let's go over to Glacier Peak. Glacier Peak is approximately 40 miles southwest of Mount Baker. Okay. Now, Glacier Peak is an active volcano. Right now, they're only showing us one seismogram because they only have allegedly one seismograph that is active. 2.5 years ago, we got wind that they were going to put 5 other seismographs on this mountain, meaning we'd have more data coming back from the seismographs showing us the activity of the magma and the earthquakes happening at Glacier Peak. Well, guess what? Either they have not put the seismographs on the mountain like they say they were going to do, or they're just not sharing the data from the seismographs. Plain and simple. All we're seeing here at Glacier Peak are tremors. This earthquake right here at the top right might be a 1.4, 1.5 tremor. All the other earthquakes here are just tremors and microquakes. That's all it's showing. Nothing else. Over here to the right, this blue, very thin rectangle here is called a magma churn signal. Magma churn signals are typically 23 to 24 lines high. Let's find out how many lines this magma churn signal is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 lines high. This is 50, the seismograph is only given us 50% of real world. 50% of real world. So all of these signatures here for this microquake here and this, or not a microquake, that is a minor tremor here and a minor tremor here. These are should be shown twice as long, meaning this is probably a 2.0 minor earthquake, and so is this. And all these other tremors are also much larger because they're not being honest with us about the strength of the seismograph because they've turned down the seismograph. That's how we can determine the strength of the earthquakes, is by looking for these magma churn signals. Not all seismograms show us what's going on at these volcanoes. They just don't want to share the information. Let's go down now south of Mount Rainier. I want to show you what is actually going on. Okay. Here comes a magma or a seismogram coming from Mount Rainier. This is the H8Z seismogram from Camp Muir. R stands for Mount Rainier, CM signifies Camp Muir. Camp Muir is on the southern side of Mount Rainier near the summit of the volcano. Okay, look at that. Isn't this interesting? Okay, let's zoom in here and see just what this earthquake is. Okay, again, this is in the Pacific time zone. This would typically show us the earthquake down in Port Orford. But the timeline is wrong. Look at this. This happens to be 2000 hours, which is actually 8 p.m. 8 p.m. There was no very large earthquake. There was no very strong 6.0, 6.9, very strong earthquake, and there was no 7.0 earthquake anywhere around the globe at 8 p.m. last night. So this is also false data unless this was supposed to be at 2300 hours right here. See where my cursor is right here? That happened, that earthquake that you see there happens after 8 p.m. last night, Pacific time, here at Mount Rainier. But there was no earthquake that would substantiate that kind of activity until 11 o'clock last night. So all of this that you see here across that whole area here is false data. False data. See all these other tremors and such here? Probably false data as well. I'll show you why I say that in just a minute. That's Camp Muir. I'm now going to go over and show you Camp Sherman over on the north side of Mount Rainier. This is Camp Sherman. Okay? See this magma churn signal here, just like we saw with that other seismogram? This shows us again how far they've turned the seismograph down, because then we can determine just what happened here at Mount Rainier today. Let's zoom in here to find out exactly what happened here with this magma churn signal. Again, magma churn signals are 23 to 24 lines high. This one happens to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines high. This is about 46% of real world, meaning the seismograph was turned down 54%. The seismograph was turned down 54%. So each of these events here at Mount Rainier were twice as strong as they're showing here on the seismogram. Each of these events. Now, off to the right of this thin triangle or thin rectangle here, the magma churn signal, we see these other vertical lines. These are steam signals. Mount Rainier is steaming today. Mount Rainier is definitely steaming. Magma is upwards of 1,500 to 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. So, what happens to the water that's in the magma? 6 to 7% of all magma is water. That's why we have steam at the volcanoes. 6 to 7% of all magma is water. So that magma is very hot, right? Oh, absolutely it is. So when the volcano has an opportunity to shed some of its water, it does it, okay? It boils it off because of the heat, okay? Now, at the summit of Mount Rainier, there is a huge volcanic rock there. A huge volcanic rock. It sits as a plug of the volcano. Now, let me turn around here and take and show you exactly what happens at the volcanoes. This is exactly what happens. There's a huge volcanic rock at the top of the summit of every volcano, and magma is going up from underneath, hammering at that volcanic rock. It's hammering away at that volcanic rock. And as that pressure builds up, it hammers away and hammers away and hammers away. When that happens, that volcanic rock becomes with a bunch of holes in it. Little tiny fissures develop in that volcanic rock that's holding the magma down inside the volcano. But that volcanic rock is hit with that pressure coming up from inside the volcano, isn't it? Plus, that magma is very hot. So what happens? It's heating up the water, isn't it? The water boils off in the form of steam. And that steam comes up through those tiny little holes. And those tiny little holes get even larger because of the heat of the steam. And at some point in time, the magma coming up from underneath is smashing against that rock, and the steam is coming through these tiny little holes in the rock, and those holes in the rock get bigger and bigger and bigger. What happens? At some point in time, with that pressure of the magma and the heat of the steam, that rock, boom, it shatters it, doesn't it? It has nothing else to do but shatter because of the pressure and the hot steam. That's when we get a volcanic eruption. That is what's going on at every one of these volcanoes, including Baker, Glacier Peak, Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, Mount Hood, Bachelor Mountain, Sisters Volcano, Newberry Volcano, Belknap Crater, Crater Lake, all of them. Yes, Crater Lake has a lake at the top of the volcano. I'll explain that another time. Just like I told you before, at that other lake we just talked about, with the volcano down beneath that lake. Glacier Peak has a very cold alpine lake. When that volcano erupts, the lava is going to hit that awful cold water. And there's going to be a catastrophic destruction of the top of the volcano. Water mixing with hot magma doesn't mix. There becomes an explosion, a catastrophic explosion of lava up in the air with gases and hot steam and ash. That's what's going to happen. That's what's happening at Mount Rainier. There are glaciers on Mount Rainier. And when Mount Rainier erupts, those glaciers are going to melt, sending hot lava in those watery streams and rivers coming down Mount Rainier, and there's going to be lahars. We saw a lahar come down Mount Rainier about 3.5 years ago. 3.5 years ago. It was right before President Trump left office, because they invited President Trump to be here at Mount Rainier National Park. They tested the lahar sirens here at Mount Rainier in front of President Trump. Because prior to that, we had a lahar that came down the side of Mount Rainier, and I showed video at the time of it happening. There was video of this huge amount of ice, snow, and water coming down this mountain. Mount Rainier is warm. It's very warm. And the temperature of the magma inside of the volcano makes the surface of the volcano warm. And that melted the ice and snow on the side of the volcano. And that ice, water, snow melted, and it came down the mountain and tore trees out of the ground, rocks and everything, all kinds of debris coming down Mount Rainier, destroying roads and everything. And at first, USGS denied it happened. I got a slap on the hand for lying to the public after I showed exactly what happened. It was about a week or so later when USBS had to apologize, because guess what? The National Park Service, the USGS had to admit that yes, a lahar had happened at Mount Rainier. It was not a magma or not a lava lahar, but it was a water, steam, and debris-laden lahar, destroying roads and everything on that side of the mountain. So it did happen. I covered it. Our buddy Trevor Harper's back here in the chat tonight saying, wow, exactly. This did happen. Now let's go back to this seismogram I've been showing you here. Look at that. They're only showing us 46% of real world air. Again, this is on the south side of Mount Rainier. Look at these other events happening here at Mount Rainier. Okay, look at that. Camp Sherman, RCS. Look at these other earthquakes and tremors. Look at this earthquake right over here. Let me show it to you right there. This is at least a 3.3, 3.5 earthquake right here at Mount Rainier. Again, they're not showing us but 46% of real world. So this earthquake right here may even be a 4.5 earthquake. They're only showing us 46% of real world. So this earthquake may in fact be a 4.5 earthquake here at Mount Rainier. This has happened before. I've shown this same thing before here at Mount Rainier. They are lying about what's going on. This vertical line here does not have a dot in the middle. If you see a vertical line like this and no dot in the middle, this is a steam signal. This is a steam signal here. A lot of steam pouring out of Mount Rainier today. Look at these other earthquakes and tremors here. Look at that. Down here, right here. This is another 4.0 earthquake, probably. Just by the looks of it here, this could be a 3.5 earthquake, but we know that what they're only showing us is 46% of real world. So this is probably be a 4.5 earthquake here, right there. Because they're not being honest with us at all. And this is very typical all over the Pacific Northwest. These seismograms that I'm showing you are coming from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. They're being told to do the same thing that USGS is telling us. They don't want anybody to know what's going on. Now, I want to show you another seismogram here. This is an HHN channel. This is Emerald Ridge. Rainier is the R. E is Emerald. R is Ridge. Mount Rainier, Emerald Ridge. This is an HHN seismogram, meaning it is showing us VLF waves at the volcano. At the volcano. Again, look at this big earthquake that supposedly happened at 8 p.m. last night. Again, they're falsifying data. The only big earthquake anywhere happened at Port Orford, off the coast of Port Orford, Oregon last night, after 11 p.m., which is right there, where my cursor is. So they're giving us false data. However, all these wavy lines here are showing us magma coming into the magma chamber. Right here, about 4 a.m. this morning. You see a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber because you see increased substance of magma coming into the magma chamber here. Okay? Again, they are lying to us on the other seismograms. They're completely lying to us. Then again, about noon today, look at this right here. Look at this spike here. A lot of magma coming into the volcano right in here. You see all these increased waves here? That represents a lot of magma. They're called VLF waves, very low frequency waves, caused by magma coming into the volcano. Okay? But they're not showing what's going on. All they're showing is minor earthquakes and tremors. They're not showing us any larger earthquakes because they don't want us to see what's really going on. Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid we know exactly what's going on. That was Mount Rainier. I want to show you Mount St. Helens now, okay? What I'm going to show you now is one of the seismographs. The seismogram here is from one of the seismographs, and still they're trying to portray this earthquake happening here after 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. last night. It didn't happen until 2300. This is the HHN channel from East Dome Mount St. Helens, EDM. East Dome Mount St. Helens here. This is a VOF wave seismogram showing the magma coming into the magma chamber here. Look at that. See all these wavy lines here? This is increased magma coming into the volcano. They're not showing us exactly what's going on. Further down here, there's more magma coming in down here as well. Right here, there's very little magma coming in. Okay? Let's go look at one of the seismograms to show you exactly what they're trying to show us. Now, I'm going to show you this one. This is the main seismogram coming from Mount St. Helens, East Dome Mount St. Helens. Okay? This is the HHZ channel. Okay? The main one is EDZ, but they've turned that one off, or they decide not to show it to us because when I went there earlier today, it showed no photo available, meaning they either turned off the seismograph or they don't want to show us exactly what had happened here at Mount St. Helens. This is East Dome Mount St. Helens. This is a seismograph sitting right on top of the summit of Mount St. Helens. Okay? Again, they're lying about the big earthquake last night because it would have happened 3 hours later. They are showing some tremor activity right here. Some increased magma activity here. But if we had an increased availability of magma, we'd have larger earthquakes, not just tremors. All they're showing us over here is just a small tremor here. And down here, this afternoon, this is 12 noon here. It says 12 here. That's 12 noon. 1300 is 1 p.m. 1400 is 2 p.m. The black line here. All we're seeing is tremors here. And 1500 here is 3 p.m. 3 p.m. So they're not being honest with us whatsoever here at East Dome. But I have got another seismogram to show you here at Mount St. Helens. It's called September Lobe. Again, the seismograph sitting right on top of the volcano, right on the summit of the volcano. Look at this. This seismogram is called SCP, which is September Lobe seismograph, BDF-CC-01. This is the seismogram that is showing us the VLF waves here at this particular seismograph. Okay? It's a multi-channel seismograph, so we're able to see this. Okay? Look at the top. They're not showing us any data whatsoever. Very, very small wavy lines. Hardly any magma coming into the magma chamber. Then, what happens here? Let me enlarge this here so you can see it. We go over here to about 9 p.m. 2100 would be 9 p.m. And all the way across here, we see increased magma activity all the way down to here. This is 1 a.m. Pacific time. Look at all this magma activity here. We should be seeing a lot of earthquake activity because the increased magma activity they're showing here, it should be showing a lot of earthquakes because the magma is fracturing rock inside of Mount St. Helens. Okay, let's go look at the regular seismograph. Okay, you're going to be surprised. I guarantee it. Look at this. Again, right up here at 8 p.m., they're still falsifying the data here. Okay, that earthquake happened 3 hours later. Okay, look at the other seismic activity here. Look at all this stuff here. This seismic activity that supposedly happened between 1 a.m. this morning and 5 a.m. should show us a lot of earthquakes, right? Absolutely it should. But what are they showing us here? Nothing but microquakes and small tremors here. That is all that they're showing us here, all the way across the seismogram. Each of the lines here is again, 15 minutes worth of data. So they're lying through their teeth on this seismogram. Totally lying through their teeth here at Mount St. Helens. There is a lot more there are a lot more earthquakes happening at Mount St. Helens. Let's go over to Mount Hood. Okay? I'm going to show you what is happening at Hood Meadows. Hood Meadows is a ski resort on the south side of Mount Hood. Okay? Look at the earthquakes here. Again, this is in Oregon, closer to where that earthquake happened at after 11 p.m. last night. Yes, we're seeing earthquakes here yesterday afternoon and evening. Okay, right here. Look at this. This is 11 p.m. or 10 p.m. last night right here. See all these earthquakes? These are like 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes here, possibly here, right here, maybe a 3.0 earthquake, 3.3 here, and a lot lesser minor earthquakes and tremors here. Okay? Again, right over here, both of this earthquake is probably a 2.8, 2.9. This is a 2.9 earthquake here. Down here, this is another 2.9, 3.0 earthquake here. And what is going on here? Look at this activity this afternoon. Late this morning and this afternoon. Look at that. Again, this is at Mount Hood. Look at this big earthquake here this afternoon here. This is like a 3.5 earthquake if this seismograph stands. If what we see on this seismogram stands here at Hood Meadows, then guess what? That was a 3.5 earthquake. But I don't see any magma churn signals here to tell us exactly how far the seismograph was turned down. And I believe it was. Let's go over to Timberline. Timberline is government camp, the southern lower side of Mount Hood. Again, this seismograph is very close inland from Port Orford. Again, they're lying to us. They're showing it happening at 8 p.m. last night. Again, it didn't happen till after 11 p.m., which was 2300, which is right there. Okay? They're not showing us hardly any other data, just tremor activity here at Mount Hood, Timberline, Mount Hood. Let's show you a seismograph or seismogram coming from Mount Hood about halfway up the mountain. This is Palmer Lift. This is a ski resort at Mount Hood on the south side of Mount Hood, halfway up the volcano. Look at this. Again, at 8 o'clock last night, right there. They're trying to show us that earthquake again. They're completely lying to us. They're not telling us the truth. Okay? All the rest of this time, all it's showing us is minor tremors and microquakes, nothing more. Right here, just after 1 a.m., look at that. These are minor earthquakes right here. This is another 2.2 maybe earthquake. Maybe a 2.2 earthquake, minor earthquake. Look at this, nothing but tremors. This is probably a 2.8 earthquake here. Again, a minor earthquake. Look over here, nothing. Nothing here the rest of today. They are lying through their teeth. Okay? They're absolutely lying through their teeth. Let me show you one more seismogram coming from Mount Hood. This is Yoakum Ridge, just to the north of Mount Hood. This is also, you see up here it says BHN. This is another seismogram showing us what is actually going on with the magma inside Mount Hood. Look at the VLF waves here. Again, they want us to believe that that earthquake happened at 8 p.m. Pacific time last night. It did not. Okay, but look at these other wavy lines here, these VLF lines here. This is an awful lot of magma here, especially after, let's zoom in here. I want to show you exactly what's going on, especially after 4 a.m. this morning. And even up here at 1 a.m., look at all this magma here. But this entire time, from 4 a.m. this morning until after about 10:30 p.m. or 10:30 a.m. this morning, look at this magma here. Look at all that magma. The other seismograms should be showing us a lot of earthquake activity, and they're not. They're not. So what I'm saying is every one of these seismograms, they are lying to the public. They don't want us to know what is going on. Now, I haven't seen my friend from Oregon here, okay? Broken Fish, okay? He's one of our mods here on this program. He may be doing his own broadcast right now here on YouTube. Again, this is Cleetwood Cove, Crater Lake, Cleetwood Cove in south central Oregon. Again, they're trying to tell us that 5.7 earthquake off of the coast of Port Orford happened here at 8 p.m. Okay? But they're not showing that to us, are they? All they're showing us is microquakes here. Nothing bigger than microquakes and tiny tremors here. That's it. So again, here at Crater Lake, they're lying to us. This seismograph is over on the northeast side of Crater Lake. I tried to get the seismogram from the southeast side of Crater Lake, which would have been Mount Scott. Guess what? No photo available, meaning they either turned off the seismograph or they don't want us to see it. So I went a step further, okay? I went a step further because I don't believe them. As you already know, I don't trust them. So I pulled another seismograph, this time from the island in Crater Lake. It's called Wizard Island. Wizard Island. Again, they're showing us the same earthquake up here at 8 p.m. Look what they're showing us here. Absolutely not a thing. Absolutely not a thing. They don't want us to know what's going on here at Crater Lake. There are earthquakes hitting at Crater Lake. Brokefish told us that the other day. They are not showing squat. Now, the seismograph on Wizard Island, folks, the Wizard Island is the summit of the volcano at Crater Lake. It is an island in the south side of Crater Lake. The seismograph is exposed. It's not protected by a building or anything. Nothing. Usually what we would see here would be a bunch of tremors and other things because the rain or snow or the wind is pounding against the side of the seismograph. But we don't even see that. No activity whatsoever here at Wizard Island. Okay? They're not showing anything. And they usually do. So they're not showing a squat. Absolutely nothing. Not a solid thing at all. What's going on? They are lying through their teeth. Now, really quickly, I'm only wanting to show you the bigger earthquakes here around the world. Okay? Right here. Right here we have a volcano. This is Sitkin volcano right here. Okay? We have an earthquake near Port Alexander, Alaska. A 3.1 small earthquake. Right here is Mount Sitkin volcano. Over here, a 3.1 earthquake right here. Okay? Small earthquake. Only a small earthquake. No other earthquakes shown here in British Columbia at all. Rarely does USGS ever show us earthquakes here in British Columbia. Only the Canada Earthquake Society, the Earthquake Agency. Over here in the Gulf of Alaska, guess what? This earthquake is off the coast of Yakutat, Alaska, in the Gulf of Alaska. This is a 2.7 earthquake here. See all this other seismic energy over here in southern Alaska here? Let me pull this down. Look at all this here. Right where you see my cursor here, this is Anchorage, Alaska. Right there is Anchorage, Alaska. Over here is Mount Redoubt. Mount Redoubt. To the north of Mount Redoubt right here, this is a 1.6 tremor. Right up here, this is Denali National Park. Guess what we have happening over here at Mount McKinley? This is a 1.6 tremor here. Let me enlarge this map because I believe there's more substance to what's going on here at Mount McKinley. Okay, look at this. This is a 3.2 magnitude earthquake at Mount McKinley. Actually, it's over on the southwest side of Mount McKinley. Okay, this is Denali National Park here, all throughout this area. North of Denali, we have an earthquake up here. These others are tremors. This is a 2.4 earthquake up here, a minor earthquake north of Denali National Park. They have this earthquake listed by the USGS as being southeast of Denali. No, it's not. This is northwest of Denali. It's not southeast of anything. This is northwest of Denali National Park. Again, the United States Geological Survey can't even get the directions straight. Not at all. Not at all. There are no earthquakes today around the Arctic Circle right here. None. Okay? The closest thing we can come to it is right here. Okay, right there. This is a 1.3 tremor at Alatna, Alaska. Alatna, Alaska. Okay, further south here, this is a 2.0 near Hughes, Alaska. Okay, that's what's going on in Alaska. Little or nothing, just tremors mostly. Okay, now I just showed you all here in the Aleutian Islands, nothing. Over here at Kamchatka Peninsula, remember yesterday we had a 4.5 earthquake at a volcano inside Kamchatka Peninsula, Russia. Today, let me zoom in here and show you what's going on. Okay, right up here. Now the seismic energies come over here to the coast of Kamchatka Peninsula, Russia. This earthquake here, why is it not showing here? Right there. This earthquake here is a 4.5 earthquake. This time it's on the Kamchatka Stary side of the island here. Stary, Russia. This is a 4.5 earthquake and also another 4.0 here. This seismic energy is going over here into the Aleutian Islands within the next day or so. It's going to go over here to the Aleutian Islands this week. Okay? Then we go further south over here to the Kuril Islands. This is a 5.0 earthquake here in the Kuril Islands. These islands belong to Russia. This island right here is also in the Kuril Islands, a 4.6 earthquake here. This is 44 kilometers deep. Hokkaido's here, no earthquakes supposedly here, but there are. Over here off the coast of Japan. Okay, this is a 4.4 earthquake. There are more earthquakes here than they're showing here, but of course, USGS is not going to tell us. Over on the western side of Japan right here. Okay, I'm going to blow this up so you can see it. I want you to see what's going on. This is the Noto Peninsula of Japan, over here in the Sea of Japan. There are 3 earthquakes here. All of them are 3.0 and 2.5 earthquakes. 3.0 small, 2.5 minor earthquakes. Noto Peninsula is here because 3.5 months ago here, we had an 8.4 earthquake. It killed over 300 people and injured about 500. It destroyed buildings and homes all over this peninsula. All over the peninsula. USGS barely told us about it. They're not even showing the aftershocks today. Yesterday here near Guam, we had 4.5 earthquakes here. We've had 5-point earthquakes here. This, folks, is the Mariana Trench. This is a deep trench over here in the Pacific Ocean. Guam Island is an island that's territorial to the United States. It's a U.S. military base. Okay? We don't see any earthquakes, but we do have earthquakes here. Okay? We go down here to Taiwan. Nothing here in Taiwan, but there are. This is the Philippines. They're not showing any earthquakes up here in Luzon, Philippines. Over here in the central Philippines, they're showing us this. Actually, this is southern Philippines. Okay? This is Sarangani, Philippines. This is a 4.6 earthquake. A moderate 4.6 earthquake. This island that I'm going to show you now is Mindanao, Philippines. It's the largest island in the Philippines. Over here off the northeast side of Mindanao, Philippines, we have like 4 earthquakes here. These are aftershocks of a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake that hit here about 4.5 months ago. We're still seeing earthquakes and not one aftershock being shown by the USBS. Nothing. They're not showing any earthquakes here in Indonesia at all. There are 24 earthquakes here in Indonesia. Not one earthquake being shown by the USBS. they're showing 2 earthquakes over here in Papua New Guinea. We just got through having a 6.0 here in Papua New Guinea right here. Today, this is a 5.0 aftershock. A 5.0 large aftershock. Further south and east is another 5.0 earthquake here near Lae, L-A-E, Lae, Papua New Guinea. Okay? Look at here. Now, we told you that there had been some earthquakes over here in the Fiji area, right? All last week. Some of those 4.4 earthquakes were going to have a propagation of a large earthquake here. That's what I believe this earthquake is here. This is a result of 4.4, 4.5 earthquakes here in Fiji. Deep earthquakes in Fiji, and now we have more shallow earthquakes here in Papua New Guinea. Okay? Let's go further over here into the islands. Okay? Today, Vanuatu region, southern Vanuatu region. This is a 5.4. Look at this earthquake right here. This is a very strong 6.4 earthquake. Again, they're telling us that this is, I call bullcrap. Okay? A 6.4 very strong earthquake. Yes, it might be 10 kilometers deep. Let's go over here and see what the back seismologist study page says about that 6.4 earthquake, again here in Vanuatu region. Okay? Let's come over here. Let's scroll down here until we get to origins, okay? We come over to the study page here, okay? It says view all origin products. It says we have 3 origin products, okay? Magnitude, 6.4, okay? Location, it has the longitude and latitude here. Okay. Depth, it says 10.0 kilometers, 6.2 miles deep. This is the phases. It has no phases listed here. Okay. How many sensors are there monitoring this volcano? Let's click on magnitudes here. Let's see what USGS will tell us. Guess what, guys? Just like that other back seismologist study page said about that other earthquake, no station details available. They're calling this a 6.4 earthquake, but they're not showing any stations. They're telling us there are 53 stations, but they're not showing any station details, meaning the seismic sensors are not shown here because they don't want us diagnosing what the truth of this size of the earthquake was. If we were able to see the sensors, we would see 6.4, 6.0, 6.5, 7.0. This was probably a 7.0 earthquake, maybe larger than that. But we may never know. Okay? Over here, this is typical, showing a 5.7 earthquake. Okay? This is a full over half magnitude downgrade. This was not a 5.7 earthquake. Station details saying 168 stations. Okay, let's pull this over here and see how many stations it's going to show us. Okay, it's not showing us squat. It's not showing us magnitudes at all. It's not showing us number see, we got magnitudes clicked here, but there's no details. They're not showing any seismic details whatsoever. Again, 6.4 magnitude quake, 6.5 quake, no details. 569 stations showing a 6.5, no details. 6.4 right there, no details. What's the problem with this situation? Why are they not showing anything here? Because they don't want to admit what is going on here. Period. Okay, let's come over here to this quake. Okay, this is also south of Fiji, but it's more like south of Tonga. Tonga is right up here. Tonga is right in this area here. This is a 5.0 earthquake. Guess what? This is 468 kilometers deep. This is a fairly deep earthquake. Folks, this 5.0 is going to propagate a 6.2, 6.3 earthquake in this same area, west or east of this earthquake. Okay, it's a 5.0. It's going to propagate a 6.0, 6.1 earthquake as a result of this large, deep earthquake. Large, deep earthquake. Let me show you there. 5.0 large earthquake, 468 kilometers deep. It's going to propagate a much larger, shallower quake. Okay? Isn't that interesting? Let's go over here. I just love going to South America. Folks, there are actually 46 earthquakes hitting the west coastal areas of South America. They're not showing us that. Over here, near the Chile-Argentine border, Canciti, Argentina, we have a 4.7 moderate earthquake there. This is in the lower eastern Andes Mountains. Up in the upper Andes Mountains here in Chile, Atacama, Chile, we're seeing another 5.0 earthquake here. 133 kilometers deep, not very deep. This is a rather shallow quake. A large 5.0 earthquake here. Okay? This is a 4.6 also in Atacama, Chile. Pedro de Atacama, Chile. San Pedro de Atacama, Chile. A 4.6 moderate quake here, 173 kilometers deep. Okay? But yet, I can show you from my other device, there are 30 earthquakes right in this area. Between Valparaiso, Chile down here, all the way up here to northern Chile. Okay? 30 earthquakes. Let's go up here to Peru. This is another large 5.0 earthquake up here in Peru. 11.7 kilometers deep. This is a large, shallow quake. Okay? Marechal Naturago, Brazil. It's in the border region of Peru and Brazil. A large 5.0 earthquake there today. This earthquake here next to it is in Contonama, Peru. Brazil, Peru. So this is in the border region of Peru and Brazil there. This is Peru, a 4.4 earthquake here. There are more earthquakes here in Peru. There's more earthquakes here in Guatemala. There are more earthquakes here in Colombia. But they will never show them to us. There are 2 earthquakes here in Panama. There's another one right here in Costa Rica. There are 3 or 4 earthquakes here in El Salvador and Nicaragua. Over here, okay, there's like 4 or 5 earthquakes over here in El Salvador and Nicaragua. Okay, they're just not showing them. Guatemala here, they're not showing any earthquakes in Guatemala. Here in southern Mexico, between Puerto Vallarta and Oaxaca, Mexico here, There are 36 earthquakes here. Every one of them are 3.5 and larger, all the way up to 4.6 magnitude. USGS saying nothing about it. Not a darn thing. What do they want us to believe? Nothing ever happens? Bullcrap. We have earthquakes leaving Mexico coming up here. Just 2 days ago, we had 4.5, 4.8 earthquakes here in the Gulf of California. Yes, there is an earthquake right here today, a 4.6 earthquake right here. The center of the Gulf of California on the San Andreas Fault right there. Okay? Southern California. Southern California. More earthquakes here. Okay? Let's go up here. I just love showing you this. Brawley, California. There happens to be a seismograph here. A 1.3 tremor in Brawley, California. Interesting. There's another seismograph over here in Holtville. Okay? The Salton Sea Desert Research Station here in Holtville. Okay? Westmoreland is right here. We have an earthquake up here. This, they say, is a 1.6 tremor in Calipatria. If I were to show you the seismogram here in Calipatria, it would show us at least 100 to 150 earthquakes here in Calipatria today. They're showing us a 1.6. I call BS on that. Why? Because I know for a fact there's not just 1.6 tremor there. There's dozens of minor tremors and minor earthquakes and small 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes here in Calipatria. And they're showing us one lousy tremor here. Over here, this is the southwest side of the Salton Sea. They're going to call this Ocotillo Wells. This is an earthquake that just happened. An earthquake that just happened here in Ocotillo Wells. But it's not the only one. There's a swarm of earthquakes here. Okay? That's a 1.1 tremor. This earthquake right here is a 1.1 tremor. This is a 1.6 tremor. This earthquake here is a 1.4 tremor. Okay? 4 earthquakes right here in Ocotillo Wells. This typically happens here. Okay? Further west, this is in the eastern foothills of the Chocolate Mountains here. If you saw the Tom Cruise Navy movie, Top Gun, you saw footage of the aircraft flying over the Chocolate Mountains. These are the Chocolate Mountains here. This is a 1.5 tremor, also 27 kilometers southwest of Ocotillo Wells. Okay? Now, here in the Chocolate Mountains, we have earthquakes. They're not showing any of them. Not a one. Not a one. Up here in Borrego Springs, this is a 0.8 microquake. I will say this is not the only earthquake here in Borrego Springs. I happen to know there's at least a dozen earthquakes in Borrego Springs. We go north to Anza. This is the Anza-Borrego Desert State Park. Northeast San Diego County. They're showing a 0.5 microquake here and right here. What is this? This is a 1.2 tremor here, also in the Anza-Borrego Desert State Park. Over here, guess what? Earlier this week and last week, we showed you earthquakes at Palomar Observatory. The great big huge telescope on top of a 7,000-foot mountaintop, Palomar Mountain. This is a 1.0 tremor at Palomar Mountain. Excuse me. Over here, just north of Palomar, guess what? This is the Elsinore Fault Zone. The Elsinore Fault Zone, Marietta Hot Springs. This is a 1.7 tremor. Let's go back here into San Diego County. Okay. This is the city of La Mesa. Okay. This is a 1.2 tremor in the city, which is a township, or not township, it's actually a city, a suburb of San Diego County, in San Diego County. This is Mission Bay right here. Mission Bay. We have an earthquake down here. This is Tijuana, Baja California, just across the border from San Isidro, which is the United States side of the border. Okay. Out here off the coast of Imperial Beach, which is also a city, suburb of San Diego, in San Diego County right here. Imperial Beach, I used to live there for about 2 months. This is a 1.2 tremor off the coast of Imperial Beach. Okay? Unreal. This is 13.6 kilometers deep. Unreal. This La Mesa earthquake, this was 5.6 kilometers deep, 2 miles deep. Okay? You see earthquakes over here in the LA area? Guess what? There are. This is Home Gardens, Glen Avon, California. 1.3 tremor here. Over here, I think I showed you this. This is no, I didn't. This is Banning, California, a 1.3 tremor here. Guys, they're not showing squat here. There are earthquakes all over Orange County here, earthquakes all over Los Angeles County here. They're not showing us squat. They don't want to tell us what's going on. Even over here, this is Bombay Beach right here on the eastern side of the Salton Sea. There are 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes hitting here every day. Multiple earthquakes hitting here, sometimes 5, 6, 7 earthquakes every day here at Bombay Beach. And they're not saying word one. Off the northeast shore of Salton Sea here, this is a 1.1 tremor. There are multiple tremors here at North Shore, Salton Sea. They're not showing squat. Over here in southwestern Texas, we have a real swarm of earthquakes. These are 2.0 to 2.8 earthquakes here in Cayenosa, Toya, Texas, and Midland, Texas. Okay? Down here. I just love showing earthquakes this far south. This is Falls City, Texas. They say this is a 1.7 tremor here in Falls City, Texas. In the past 4 weeks, we've seen a 4.1 earthquake, a moderate 4.5 earthquake here in Falls City, Texas. Going north up here, okay? They're showing us 2 earthquakes here. This is Sparks, Oklahoma, a 1.6. And this earthquake here, Turleton, Oklahoma, 1.8 tremor here. Folks, these are oil and gas fracking quakes. 586,000 oil and gas pumps and jacks all over Oklahoma. And only 2 tremors here? My gosh, what a bunch of garbage. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the New Madrid Fault. Again, they're showing another earthquake here near Caruthersville, Missouri, a 2.0 minor earthquake. I call BS on that. This is actually probably a 3.0 small earthquake. New Madrid, Missouri, Madison County, Missouri, guess what? Earthquakes all over this area. Promise. Over here in South Carolina, this is Elgin, South Carolina, just west of Sumter, South Carolina. Today they're showing a 2.2 earthquake here. Again, I call BS on that. I just happen to know this area very well. There are 3.0 earthquakes hitting all over Elgin, Lugoff, and Sumter, South Carolina. Fact. We go north here. We have a red earthquake. Just happened. Guilford, New Hampshire. Guilford, New Hampshire. This is also on the Continental Divide. See this fault zone here? All the way down here from Georgia, the east or west side of South Carolina, North Carolina here, Tennessee right here. Folks, guess what? The Eastern Continental Divide, even up here, 2.2 minor earthquake here in Guilford, New Hampshire. The Eastern Continental Divide here in the United States, going up here into Canada. Okay, fact. That's what's going on. USBS only showing one earthquake here. Okay, Croatia. This is this is just barely northeastern Italy, Croatia border area. They're calling this a 4.4 magnitude earthquake, a moderate earthquake up here. This is 6.9, 7.0 kilometers deep. Fairly shallow quake. Croatia is also right here. Okay. Romania down here is not showing anything. We have earthquakes up here in France, all over the Alps right here, all up and down through Italy here. 20 plus earthquakes right here in Italy today, right here. Sicily, several earthquakes down here in Sicily. This is Greece. There's 20 plus earthquakes here in Greece. Probably 20 earthquakes right here in Turkey. Over here at the border area, Turkey and Syria right here, there are 60 earthquakes. They're not showing any of those here either, are they? Not a one. Iran and Iraq right here. They're not showing any earthquakes in this area here at all. None. How about over here in Afghanistan? Afghanistan, guys, guess what? This is a 4.3 moderate earthquake near Qom, Afghanistan. Qom, Afghanistan, right there. They're not showing us any earthquakes here in China, showing any earthquakes here in Myanmar, Thailand, over here in Cambodia, Vietnam, nothing. Not a thing. Like I said, they're not showing any earthquakes at all over here in Indonesia. There's about 25 earthquakes here in Indonesia they're not saying word one about. What a bunch of crap. Now I know it's 9:30 p.m. We've been here just over 2 hours. Do any of you have any questions of me? Now's the time to answer or ask any questions about anything we've talked about tonight. Don Patoka, one of my mods and one of my best friends, is talking about emergency preparedness here in the chat. No water, no you. You can't survive much more than 3 days without water. How about food? How about food? You're not going to survive very long without food either. The minimum amount of clean drinking water to have, the minimum amount is 1 gallon per person per day. I always tell people to have 3 gallons of water per day. Why? You're going to want water to clean with, to bathe yourselves, wash yourselves off. Otherwise, you're going to be a stinking person. You're going to want to have water to cook with. You're also going to want to have water to wash your dishes and pans. 3 gallons of water per day per person. Plain and simple. Okay? Okay? Please, Trevor, don't put those kind of words here in the chat. Even though it's not spelled right, please don't put them here in the chat, please. Okay? Alan Williams said something in the chat that one of our mods took down. Okay? I'm reading that myself. We don't put this kind of stuff in the chat. Okay? Alan Williams, you don't know what the heck you're talking about. Okay? This channel is set to public. He says, therefore, the chat is free speech bullcrap. Guess what? If you're here in this chat, you're here in my home. I dictate what you can put here in my public chat. This has nothing to do with free speech. Don't tell me anything about free speech. I am a proponent of free speech. You can go to the FCC, you can go to the FAA, you can go to the CIA or whatever three-letter agency you want to go to. You're full of crap. Okay? Go for it. Make my day. Make my day. Okay? Guess what? You won't be here much longer. You just committed a great sin against me. Goodbye. You won't be back. Susan Cross is asking, will the eclipse have an effect on earthquakes? Doubtful. Very doubtful. All that means is that the moon is going to come between us and the sun. That's all that means. The moon is going to come between us and the sun. That's all that means. Okay? I don't expect any kind of earthquake activity related to the sun or the solar eclipse. Actually, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. The sun may cause earthquakes because there may be another coronal mass ejection or solar flare. But between the moon coming between the sun and us, I don't think it's going to have an effect on us at all when it comes to earthquakes. Marley Trotter says, you are amazing. Thank you very much. I don't know whether I'm amazing. I'm just a very studied person. Yes, I've got a degree in geology, but quite honestly, my degree came from a long time ago. I've had to compete and continue to study geology and earthquakes, economy, and everything else to be able to do what I have to do today. My education back then just gave me a beginning. In order to do what I have to do, I have to keep up on the science. Otherwise, what I say doesn't mean a hill of beans. Okay? It does mean a hill of beans, and you guys can see that it does. Okay? Saffron Bay is asking, how concerned are you with earthquakes on the New Madrid fault line after the eclipse? Again, I want to tell you that I don't believe again, CMEs, coronal mass ejections and solar flares from the sun could have a reflection on the earthquakes. Planetary alignments could have an effect on earthquakes. Just the alignment between the sun, the moon, and earth, very likely, very negligible effect. Okay? It would have to be multiple planets, the moon, the earth, and the sun to cause any additional earthquakes. It's called planetary alignment. It's called electromagnetic radiation between the planets, the earth, and the sun. Planetary alignments cause electromagnetic radiation. Okay? Then we could have earthquakes. Electromagnetic radiation would cause the plates to heat up, which all the gunk and grime that hold the plates together, if the plates of the core of the earth heat up, guess what? The plates and earthquake faults move more naturally. That would cause earthquakes. I don't think that this eclipse will have any big influence on what the earthquakes are happening on April 8th. Okay? There's a lot of people speculating we're going to have all kinds of disasters, people rioting, hurting people, and everything else. Call it BS. It's just not going to happen. It is just not going to happen. It didn't happen in 2017 when we had a solar eclipse over the United States the last time. I was in Salt Lake City in downtown Salt Lake. A large group of people met in downtown Salt Lake near the KSL TV station in a park downtown Salt Lake and saw the eclipse on a great big solar, or not big solar, a great big TV screen, like 100-foot long TV screen. Okay? Yes, they handed out these glasses so you could look up at the sun and everything. But other than that, not much of anything happened in Salt Lake. And again, I don't think much of anything is going to happen on April 8th. Yes, we have some illegal aliens. I'm going to call it. We have a bunch of illegal aliens here. 7 million illegal aliens right now here in the United States from all parts of the world. Criminal aliens released from prisons all over the world are right here in the United States. They might cause some problems, but they're already causing problems. What else could they do? The United States has its military, okay? The military could be told by Joe Biden to come after our citizens. Guess what? The generals have told us already that the military will not attack citizens of the United States. It's not going to happen. I was told that back in 2015, and I believe it still holds true. The United States military is not going to attack citizens. And on top of that, there's about 8 million of us that are armed. There are 8 million people here in the United States that are armed. We're ready to protect ourselves and those people that are around us, those people that we love. And you can doggone well believe that could happen. Okay? But I don't see anything major happening as a result of that crazy solar eclipse. Okay? Anybody speculating that it will is probably lying to you and themselves. Okay? And yes, there's a bunch of witches. There are a bunch, and I shouldn't say witches, okay? But there are people prognosticating out there, wishing it would happen or forecasting major events, and I just don't think it's going to happen. Plain and simple. Any other questions? Susan Cross says, thank you. I've been a bit freaked out. Don't freak out about people imagining things or saying, oh, hell's going to break loose or our country's going to attack us. No, it's not going to happen. Okay? Okay? I just don't think it's going to happen. I've been watching. I'm an ex-cop, guys. I'm looking at everything as an ex-police officer. I'm retired. Okay? I'm retired. I still have my badge here. I kept it in my retirement. I hope to hang it on the wall one of these days. Guys, I'm telling you from experience, from a knowledgeable stance as a former police officer, I just don't think it's going to happen. Plain and simple. Don Patoka is here asking everybody to remember to subscribe to this channel. Please do that. And when you subscribe, right next to that subscription button, there's a little tiny bell icon. Click on that little bell, and it'll come up with a 3-item drop-down menu. Click on the word ALL, all. Clicking on that should get you notified when we come on the air, but not naturally. Because YouTube doesn't like this channel. YouTube doesn't want everybody to know what's going on. You want to subscribe so the more subscribers we get, the larger this channel grows, and YouTube won't have any say about people subscribing to this channel, except they'll unsubscribe people, and you'll just have to resubscribe. And again, click that notification bell. You'll have to resubscribe because they'll unsubscribe people. They always do it. But as we grow larger, they're not going to have any power over this channel other than to take me down. And they did that to my last channel when I got to 25,000 people. 25,000 subscribers, and now we're closing in on 4,000. By this time, or by the end of this year, we could have close to 7,000 or 8,000 at the rate we're growing. I hope that happens. I hope that happens. The more people that subscribe to this channel, the more definitive data that they're going to have to be able to help make decisions for them and their families to save their lives. That's what we hope you get out of this channel. Information that will save your life. Okay? We talk about that all the time. We appreciate you being here. I want to thank you for being here. Now, yes, we're closing in on 3 hours here. I'm sorry about that. Folks, I want to share a scripture with you. Last night, we were over 3 hours, almost 4 hours, and I didn't want to keep you here any longer. I want to share a scripture with you that's in the book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 26. Luke chapter 21, verse 26. Men's hearts failing them for fear. That's what's going on right now. And for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. That's what's going on right now. Not just earthquakes, politics, and everything else. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Just like you're seeing behind me, this picture of Jesus Christ coming down from heaven in the clouds. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your hearts, for your redemption draweth nigh. For he spake to them a parable. Behold the fig tree and all the trees. He goes into the parable of the fig tree. Folks, this is truth. You see it happening all around us. Don't believe the lies. Don't believe the lies. Now, I will be on the air tomorrow evening. We'll talk about the pneumatic fault. I'll be on the air tomorrow to talk about more about what happened in Baltimore, Maryland. I'll be talking about earthquakes around the world and answer any questions that you might have. Friday, we'll be talking about things that are going on, as well as emergency preparedness. Emergency preparedness Fridays. Saturdays, we like to take the day off unless something big happens, like what happened last week. In that case, we come back on the air to talk about it, to discuss it so everybody knows what's going on. We don't like other channels that lie about information. We don't like the government lying to you either. We try to set the record straight. Fact. Okay? We come on the air Sunday. The reason I'm talking about this, my buddy Don Patoka, mod on this channel, is talking about it. He just did. On Sunday mornings at 12 noon, we'll come on the air at 12 p.m. Eastern Time with Come Follow Me, the Savior Said. We're going to be talking about Easter. We're going to be talking about the Savior's crucifixion and his resurrection and what it means to you and I. So be here at 12 noon Eastern Time. It is 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, and 9 a.m. Pacific Time in California. And if you're anywhere else around the world, you can try to figure it out. You'll see us come on the air in the middle of your Sunday or Sunday evening. May God bless you. May God protect you. May God be with you this day and always. I pray for each and every one of you every day and every night. God be with you until we meet again. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back on the air to talk about it as soon as the information becomes available. I appreciate all of you mods being here today. My buddy in Arizona, Rob52's been here, one of our mods here. Don Patoka's been here. We've had NCWQ here. We've had many of our mods here, and I appreciate you all. One of the people here wants to speak a different language here in our chat, and you're not able to do that. You're not able to do that on this channel. We remove anything like that, okay? You're not able to speak different languages on this channel. If you speak English, that's one thing. Keep your chats, English, keep them real. Don't swear. Don't do anything else because they will be taken down. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. I hope you guys have a good night and a better tomorrow. We will see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. We love you. Juanito, thank you for being here as well. Demon Catman, Don Patoka, Rob52. Heather's been here. I think Sleeping Volcano's been here, as well as Queen. I think her name's Queen Crater. Or anyway, we have quite a few mods that have been here. We appreciate each and every one of you. God bless you and thank you for being here. Good night, everybody. Much love.